Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone again. So let's talk a little bit about the history. We start with the history of the EU and then some founding treaties, very important institutions, and the European identity in general, and finally some current challenges. So, when you take a look at the European Union today, it has 27 member states. Previously, it was 28. But as you know, United Kingdom left the European Union in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So it is a union with almost like 500 million population in a way. And there are still some countries, some states which want to be the members of the European Union. They want to join the European Union, such as Albania, Montenegro, Serbia, former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, and Turkey. And also, we know that Ukraine is waiting there, and there were also talks about Georgia, Gurjistan, and Moldova trying to join the European Union. Turkey is still a candidate country since 1999. Unfortunately, things are not going very well at the moment with Turkey trying to become the EU member states. So we will see if it will ever happen. This is Europe, to put Europe in a context, in a geographical context, what does it mean geographically? So I just got this map, Europe, like a European Union, like a spot, which is, much, much, much smaller than North American continent, for instance, here. It is probably smaller than the United States. UK is also no longer there. United Kingdom is no longer there. And probably the country with the largest population is Germany, followed by France, Italy, Spain, Poland, etc. The birth rate is so small, 1 out of 1,000. And this also shows that Europe is in need of migrants constantly. And if you look at the history of migration to Europe in the aftermath of the Second World War, we see that France and the UK received a lot of migrant labor from their former colonies. France, for instance, from North African countries, Algeria, Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, etc. UK received a lot of migrant workers from Pakistan, India, Caribbeans, etc. But Germany did not have colonies, so Germany had most of its migrants from Turkey, Italy, Spain, etc. And as recently there's a big debate in the European Union, uh, a debate about the migrants. There is a growing anti-migrant, anti-refugee sentiment, uh, giving the floor to the rise of the right-wing populists. I will talk about that in a while in the section of the challenges. The other thing is that Europe is no longer such a great industrial power. Europe has become deindustrialized, closed down the coal mines, closed down those mines in the 1980s, and now investing in some uh, renewable energy sources, sun energy, solar energy, wind energy, etc. But Europe, in that sense, is uh, very much in need of some uh, oil, gas, natural gas coming from Russia, coming from the Middle East. Uh, so this energy issue is a great challenge for the European Union countries because their sources are not big enough to sustain their economic development. So we are asking this question if really European Union has lost its charm since nowadays there are different powers such as China, Russia, United States challenging the former power of the European Union. But let's take a look at the main principles on which the EU was established. First of all, since the 1950s, in the aftermath of the Second World War, there were some values that uh, set up the pillars of the European Union. As I said, European Union was established in the ruins of the Second World War. So it was a union against the war. It was a peace union. It was a economic union. It was a political union. It was a cultural union. So the aim of the European Union, which was previously European Economic Community, I will talk about that in a while. The idea was to make sure that a union to be established where the people could freely move across different member states. Goods can move across member states. Services and money, capital can circulate, can move without any boundaries within the European Union. So this European Union became a European Union in actually 1992 with the Maastricht Treaty. Before that, we did not call the European Union as such. Previously, it was European Economic Community or European Community. And if you look at the history of the treaties which set up the pillars of the European Union, the first important one is Paris Treaty, which made sure that two great powers of Europe, Germany and France, would not fight again, because they fought against each other in the First World War, in the Second World War. So the EU was actually established on the idea that to bring these two historical enemies together, working for the same cause, working for the same mission. So the idea was to make sure that France and Germany could share the natural resources in Alsace-Lorraine, coal mines, industrial resources at the border of Germany and France. So if they thought that if they established an economic union, a trade union, then these two countries, these two states would collaborate with each other instead of fighting against each other. And then the second treaty was the Treaty and Euratom Treaty, which was which is called the Treaties of Rome, where the European member states, which was then Germany, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Italy. They were 8 member states then. They talked about trade. They talked about energy. They talk about industrialization. 1987 is another very important moment in the history of the European Union when the Single European Act was introduced. So, if you see, European Union was becoming a union in 1987, but the name of the European Union was put after Maastricht Treaty, which produced a larger European Union with the inclusion of new member states. I'll talk about that in a while. 1997 is another treaty called Treaty of Amsterdam. Treaty of Nice also is very important in 2001. And the final great treaty is Lisbon Treaty 2007. So all these treaties signify different things. So you can go back to your readings and then, or you can just Google and then find out about what they mean, since we don't have that much time here. So I'll just very briefly talk about these treaties. As I said, Paris Treaty and then Rome Treaty. Here, there are some treaties, Paris, Rome, and Maastricht. These are three, the most important treaties, which established what we call the pillar system of the European Union. So what does it mean? So if anybody asks you, what are the pillars of the European Union? You will say there are three pillars of the European Union. In the first place, the first pillar is a socioeconomic and environmental pillar, which was based on the idea that the new member states back in the 1950s, this eighth founding member states, Germany, France, Italy, and Benelux countries, Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, they established the European Union as an economic community to share the economic resources and to create a social economic, community in the first place. So this is the first pillar. And then after a while, in the 1990s, in the Maastricht Treaty, 1992, two new pillars were added into the economic and social pillar. And the second pillar was common foreign and security policy, when the European Union decided to have a common foreign and security policy. Before that, all the member states had their own security policies, had their own individual foreign policies. So, together with Maastricht Treaty, the European Union started to have a common security and foreign policy. And the third pillar was the introduction of justice and home affairs, which is called the justice pillar, in 1992, when the European Union started to have a kind of common security policy in terms of the protection of borders, boundaries, having a common migration and refugee policy, asylum policy, etc., etc. So you see, depending on the challenges coming up, the European Union always, reformulates its power. It's always reforming itself. So this will probably continue depending on the emergence of new challenges. So I'll just here, talk about the first member states and then the other enlargement waves. There were 6 founding member states, as I said: Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. 1950 Schuman Declaration is a very important date for the European Union. Schuman was a French statesman, and Schuman Declaration, published in 1950, was a very important document for the European Union. It was declared on 9th of May, which is today celebrated as the Europe Day. So every 9th of May, European Union member states and the candidate states, including Turkey, celebrates the Europe Day. And then we talked about 1957 Rome treaties. 1960s, we have work continuing. Uh, First, they created a European Free Trade Association with the neighboring states such as Norway, Switzerland, etc. And then they launched a common agricultural policy, which is very essential for countries like France. And then they abolished the customs duties, and they created a customs union. So within the members of the European Union, there are no customs, so products produced in different member states can be easily sold and both in the other member states without any, taxation, without any extra customs, tax or duties. And then in 1980s, we see the new member states coming in, Greece, Spain, and Portugal in 1980s. Turkey was also in the picture in those days, but politically, Turkey didn't want to become a member of the European Union in those days. And then Single European Act, as I said, 1986. And then 1990 is a very historical date for the European Union because two Germanys, divided Germanys, East Germany and West Germany, were reunited in 1990, giving a boost to the German economy as well as to the European economy. So 1990 was also the end of the Cold War, which was a very important date for the European Union, because afterwards we will see there will be some new member states joining the European Union from the East European countries. But before that, in 1990s, Austria, Finland, and Sweden joined the European Union, and in 1995 we have 15 member states. The In the 2000s, we have the largest European enlargement, EU enlargement. In 2004, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Malta, Poland, Slovakia, and Slovenia joined the European Union. Cyprus was unfortunately a divided land, and EU made a big mistake by letting the divided Cyprus joining the European Union. As you know, the northern part is still outside the European Union. It was a mistake. It was also one of the reasons why Turkey, after 2004, became a bit more alienated against the European Union, against the European integration, because EU made a decision to let the divided Cyprus become a part of the European Union. 2007, Bulgaria and Romania joins, and 2013, Croatia joins the European Union. It became 28 member states, but in 2016, UK, United Kingdom, leaves the Union, and now it is a 27 member states union. So here, after 2016, we have some really alarming challenges for the European Union. In the first place, UK leaves the European Union on January the 1st, 2020. This is the end of a process which started 2016, because in 2016, the British government, David Cameron, the Prime Minister, decided to organize a referendum. And then in the referendum, the British citizens decided to leave the European Union. So it took 4 years for the British to leave the European Union. Uh, this is called Brexit. And then afterwards, in different states, we have similar debates, such as for instance, Le Pen and her followers in France talk about Frexit. The right-wing populists in Greece talk about Grexit. People like Meloni and some others, right-wingers in Italy, talk about Italexit. So if you see, European Union has a tendency to disintegrate. Remember, in the very beginning of my lecture, I say that Europe has always been exposed to unification, integration, but also disintegration and disunification. So this is like a phoenix, burning itself into ashes and then reborn from its ashes. This will probably continue forever. So just a few words about the European institutions, the major European institutions. We have the European Parliament, uh, and the president of the European Parliament is a woman, Roberta Metsola. And this is, the parliament which decides about the legislation, which decides about the budget of the European Union, with more than 700 members, and each 5 years we have elections. And the European Parliament is actually located in two different places. The biggest one in Brussels. This is the image of the European Parliament in the heartland of Brussels. And there is also another one, which is in France, Strasbourg. So from time to time, the European parliamentarians elected into the European Parliament, shuttle between these two buildings, Strasbourg and Brussels. The European Council, this is the council which actually is, offering the political guidance to the European Union, setting up the directions and the priorities of the European Union. And in the first place, the European Council consists of the heads of governments of the member states, together with its president and the president of the European Commission. So the European member states leaders constitute the European Council, and currently the president of the European Council is from Portugal, a Portuguese politician, Antonio Costa. And then apart from the Council of Europe, we have Council of the European Union, which is composed of different ministers. For instance, you have a Council of the European Union working on agricultural issues. Then the ministers of agriculture of the member states get together, discuss about the agricultural issues. Or you can have a Council of the European Union working on the foreign policy. Then foreign ministers of each member states get together and compose or constitute the European Union Council, working on different matters, different issues. So this is the building of the Council of Ministers, located in Brussels again. And then European Commission, which is also another very important institute of the European Union, which is run by Ursula von der Leyen, the former Minister of Defense of Germany. And Ursula von der Leyen has also some assistants helping her out in running the Commission. So basically, the Commission is like the secretary for the Council of Europe and also for the European Parliament. And the building is also in Brussels. Apart from these four important institutions, the EU has other institutions, such as the Court of Justice of the European Union, the European Central Bank, the European Court of Auditors, the Economic and Social Committee, and the Committee of the Regions. Just some figures here. Court of Auditors located in Luxembourg, European Economic and Social Committee in Brussels. European Central Bank is Frankfurt, that is the financial center of the EU, Germany, Frankfurt, and European Investment Bank, Luxembourg. So these are the main institutions. And finally, let me just say a few words about what we mean by European identity. Remember, in the very beginning, I say that Europe is not taken for granted. Europe is a construction. Europe is a ideological construction, social construction, and political construction. How do we make Europe, or how the European elite, European states, produce Europe, European identity? First of all, education is a very important matter. I'm sure you guys also have Erasmus students coming from different European member states or candidate states. So education is a very important ideological institution to create a union. This is also the same for the nation states. Turkish National Education Ministry tries to produce a homogenized population through the educational institutions, through high schools, through secondary schools, or through even universities. So education is an important matter. Science is another important venue which produces a European identity, a homogeneous European identity. Some European structural funds are also very essential in creating a European Union, a homogeneous European Union with the same values, with the same norms, with the same codes, etc., etc. And there are also some other symbols creating this identity. For instance, we have a European Union flag with 12 stars. Wherever you go, you will see this flag, which gives an understanding to the European citizens that they are all living in the European Union. So these images these images are ideological, and they create a kind of community of sentiments when people feel attached to the same union. EU passport is also the same. All the EU member states have the same passport design, which was not the case earlier, right? So this also gives the feeling to the European citizens that they are the members of a large union. So it is interesting with some differences. Most of the European states have very similar European EU passport. We have Eurostat, Eurobarometer surveys, always, doing surveys about the European Union citizens, their values, their norms, their economic situation, their political inclinations, etc., etc. EU also has an anthem like İstiklal Marşı. EU also has its own anthem, which is actually Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Beethoven actually produced that symphony for Napoleon Bonaparte, but after Napoleon Bonaparte became a dictator, he thought it is no good to dedicate this to the European Union to Napoleon Bonaparte, and afterwards in the 1990s, the EU decided to pick it up as its national or transnational anthem, so to speak. And then we have EU maps, and then euro. If you have a banknote, euro banknote, the first really interesting thing that will catch you is that in each euro banknote there are two symbols: gates and bridges. So this means this is a symbolic meaning. Bridges connect us with each other. So EU connects every member state with each other. But gate means that you can sometimes close the door, but sometimes open the door. If you want to talk to your neighbor, you open the door and to talk. And if you want to close the door, you can just close it. And then So this is symbolically important because it says that EU does not really fight against the national, you know, sovereignty of the member states. It recognizes that each nation state, each member state has its national sovereignty, but it also dictates that we're all similar, we're all members of the same community, of the same union. So this gate and bridge are two really interesting symbols of the European Union. And then, of course, there are other instruments which contribute to the creation of European identity in sports, in media, in transportation, in film industry, in arts, in music, in cuisine, culinary, or now, for instance, doner kebab is also a part of this European cuisine. And doner kebab, you know what, is the most consumed national dish of Germany. Germans now argue that doner kebab is our national dish. So can you imagine, something coming from Anatolia becoming the national dish of Germany? So finally, let me just conclude what's going to happen next. Germany or EU is facing some geopolitical challenges, as you all witnessed. In the first place, Ukraine is under attack of Russia, and Ukraine wants to become a part of the European Union and also a NATO member state. But also, Trump's America is not doing very well with the EU. Uh, USA is becoming very independent without giving any support to the NATO. So they are becoming rather dissidents of Europe. China is a great power rising up. Russia is a great challenge, as you all know. But inside each member state, there is another problem, uh, which is the prevalence of autocratic powers. For instance, Hungary, Orban's Hungary is an autocratic power, which is challenging the European democracy. But also, European Union member states have their own domestic issues with the rise of the right-wing populist movements. These right-wing populist movements in so many different European Union member states are challenging the European democracy, are challenging the European Union. They are mostly Eurosceptic. They are mostly, anti-systemic. So we see in different European Union countries some figures which are sometimes being supported by the Russians, which are who are Eurosceptic, who are anti-European, in Italy, in France, in the Netherlands, and in the UK, of course, Nigel Farage. So this is the big challenge that the EU countries are recently facing. And this is a topic that I've been dealing with over the last 7 years or almost 10 years. I've written extensively on that in English, in Turkish, in different languages. You can just Google and find what I have written if you're interested. But what is really interesting is that these populist leaders, right-wing populist leaders, are so similar with each other. Trump, Putin, Le Pen, or Meloni, or Wilders, or Nigel Farage. It's really interesting that they have a style. They have a different style. They talk about the believers and non-believers. They talk about the Cartesian duality, the people against the elite, the believers against non-believers, the friends against the enemies, etc. So for them, the world is divided into two: good and bad, believer or believer and non-believer, etc. So this is the world in their imagery. Secondly, these leaders are all really interestingly presenting themselves as if they're like the ordinary people. You see this in their dress code, in their mimics, in their gestures, but they also try to portray themselves as religious figures, as the new Jesus Christ of politics, or the Messiah in the United States, etc. Or they invest in crisis. They really live on crisis. If there is no crisis in a country, they create one. So this crisis situation is always working for their interest. But I'm not gonna go into uh, more detail. I'll just share some images with you, and then uh, finally come to the conclusion. So, since 2017, I do research on these right-wing populist parties across Europe, and I see that these right-wing populist parties are very much instrumentalizing history, past, and nostalgia. They are instrumentalizing the myths. It's understandable because these are political parties which try to win the hearts and minds of their electorate, their voters. So if you guys are complaining about your socioeconomic situation at the moment, take a look at Turkey. I mean, economic crisis is really hitting all of us. The prices are going up. We don't know what's going to happen next year. There is instability. This is the same everywhere in Europe, right? There is instability. There is economic problem. There is energy problem. There is the Russian problem. There is the American problem. There is the, I don't know, so many different issues. So as an individual, you think that, well, if today is like this, I don't want to think about the future. So all of a sudden, you become, afraid of the future. So you don't want to think about the future. But you guys need to think about the future, right? Because you want to have a nice job, you want to have a decent life, a decent education, etc. So you cannot do without thinking about the future. But most of the people do not want to think about the future because they think that the present is really awful. So if the present is like this, if now is like this, then they don't want to think about the future. So then for individuals, psychologically, past becomes more important. The myths become more important. Nostalgia become more important. So all of a sudden, most of the people become nostalgic. They think about the good old days in the Ottoman Empire, the old days of the Seljuk Empire, the good old days of the Roman Empire, of the ancient Greek Empire, or of the old German, empires, or the French colonial, the French, Napoleonic Empire, etc., etc., etc. This is interesting because recently, if you pay attention to the things happening, if you look at the Hollywood film industry, they always produce movies about the myths, about Spartans, 300 Spartans, this and that. If you look at our own, soap operas, for instance, we have Dirilish, we have, I don't know, you guys know a lot better than I do, but the Ottoman past, Seljuk past, the myths and stories of the past all of a sudden circulate so much because of a reason, because this is the way how right-wing populist leaders try to catch their voters. This is how they convince their followers that it's good if their followers vote for them because they're going to make France great again. They're going to make America greater again. They're going to make the Netherlands great again. They're going to make Germany great again. So this is the kind of rhetoric that they are, that they're trying to mobilize to win the hearts and minds of their voters. This is why Le Pen, previously she was using the myth of Jeanne d'Arc. I'm sure you guys know Jeanne d'Arc. She was a woman who disguised herself like a man, like a male soldier, fighting against the British colonial powers in the 15th century, fighting for France. So Le Pen portrayed herself for years like Jeanne d'Arc of France, fighting for France. So you see how they use this image, this symbol of the past to mobilize their voters. Or in Germany, for instance, the AfD very successfully used authenticity as a symbol to win the hearts and minds of people. Or anti-Islam, they used such liminal messages, giving to the supporters of AfD. They say Islam doesn't belong to the to the German cuisine because we eat pork and Muslims don't eat pork. You see how subliminal, böyle bilinçaltına mesaj vermek dediğimiz şey. How subliminal messages the AfD gives to its own voters. Authenticity, diversity. We are diverse enough, so we don't need Muslims. We don't need Turks to become more diverse in our own country. So we are diverse anyway. So these are the images that they're playing with. The same in Italy. References to the Roman Empire. Let's make Italy greater again. This is, the Dutch guy, the former Dutch Prime Minister Geert Wilders, who only talks about anti-Islam. I mean, that is the only thing that he knows. But with anti-Islam, with this Islamophobic discourse, he receives around like 20% of the Dutch voters' votes. So can you imagine? He doesn't produce anything else but Islamophobia. So this is how it is. And another example from Greece, I worked on, and Golden Dawn, Altın Şafak Partisi, which was truly racist, which was truly neo-Nazi, and this is the reason why they were actually banned by the Constitutional Court in 2020, and its leaders were imprisoned because they were engaged in criminal activities, and they were fighting. I mean, these party members, they were fighting against the immigrants, against the Muslims, against the Albanian immigrants in the country. So this is Hüseyin Hocam and Şevval Hocam. This is the presentation that I prepared for our students. If they have any questions, any intervention, I would be happy to try to answer. So that's it from me. I'll just stop sharing here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hocam, for that comprehensive presentation. Yes, as you said, if the participants have any questions or comments, you can ask to our respected professor.
Hocam, I can ask whether they have a question or not.
Sure.
Guys, do you have any questions to ask about the lecture? Any questions? I think we are all good for now. Thank you so much for your efforts. It means a lot for us. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hocam, everything is clear after your enlightening presentation. Thank you very much again. So we've come to the end of today's webinar. Thank you very much, Professor Kaya, for this enlightening presentation. On behalf of all participants, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for your time and your precious contribution to our project. I also would like to thank all our participants for joining us today. We look forward to welcoming you again at our future events. Hocam, thank you all once again for your participation. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. I would like to wish our students great success and happiness for the future, and they can always communicate with me if they have anything to ask or to share. All the best to you, and good luck, Hüseyin Hocam, to you as well.
Thank you very much, Hocam.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
See you. Have a
Bye-bye.
wonderful day. See you.
Thank you.